Okay, hey everybody. I'm gonna quickly do a reviews of each of these. This will serve as your feedback and to let you know what you can update to update your grade if you turn in a revision, and also to kind of justify why I gave it the grade I did. So um, I'm starting with you, Ben, because you're first. Sort of flipping back and forth between these, I am curious because this one that I just opened has this in it. Okay. So the JPEG that is listed in here is listed as like just a couple minutes ago. So I don't know if that's where I opened it and I'm the last one that changed it somehow or what. So let's look at this really quick and just sort of the difference between them. See if I can see any major changes. I'm not. So we'll go ahead and critique this because it's bigger. And so when we look at this, I think the only real thing I noticed, the only real thing that really strikes me is the sort of the center feels disconnected in depth. So like you got a real nice effect going on as it going back in depth and forward in here. But this thing here just feels like it's like a window into another dimension, and so it's like I think working with that a little bit to kind of clean that up and make that feel uh, the way you would want it to. If we look at, I kind of see what you got going on here, and I guess that makes sense. But I would still play around with that a little bit more and see what you could get, even if it's just to get this like more of this center orb and less of these like streaks out here, because it's kind of hard to tell what's going on with it. So I think that needs a little bit more work. But otherwise, this is looking really good. I think you could get maybe a touch more wispiness back in here. So if we look back in here like this feels good and solid, and I'm alright with that. Some of this right here starts feeling a little bit more solid, and I think having just a touch more wispiness in some of that. Like these almost feel like solid arms hanging out here, where these have a little bit more of these jagged strings hanging off of them. And so I think that would be my only like small thing. I think this is communicating very well. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you could actually scale that up or how you're comparing that, if that's going to screw up. Yeah, so you see how Lithuania is a little bit bigger. I think you could scale that up a little bit more. Really, what did I just do? So I don't know what I'm doing apparently. There we go. Apparently scaling that up is not going to work. I have to actually scale the text. So, but you get the idea. Also, I noticed a little bit of stuff just from going down here and looking at this. You're getting a little bit of this like drop shadow at the top and a little bit of a highlight on the side, and then you're kind of getting this bevel going around outside of it as well. So I think you could add a little bit of that stuff to it, and it would really pop it out as well. Otherwise, I actually think this one turned out really well, and so that would be some of my few notes. Gonna go on to Bernard. Let's try this one first, of course. Okay, rather than do that, let's just go ahead and open up your print version. I don't really want to open that up in F-check. Let's open it up in Photoshop. So let's look at, I'll go ahead and open up this version too, even though the text will be broken. Oh, the text doesn't actually look broken to me. I'll see here. It looks like there is a slight change in text, but that's about it. Maybe not. Maybe once I get in here, it doesn't feel that much different. So this one turned out really well. Again, I actually like this this version of it better. In both versions of the print, I think you lost a little bit of, I forget the guy's name, the guy from Mortal Kombat or girl from Mortal Kombat. I don't remember. I think you lost a little bit of that in of this like color change, and this all kind of bled together a little bit more. I think you can do a little bit with popping that thumb out there, whether it's with some line work. You may consider maybe not full lines, but since these are such dark colors, you may be able to make like little highlights on them to kind of pop those out. Otherwise, this is looking pretty tight to me. Um, one little thing I would note: the lines on Mega Man here have a thicker line width than than all of the others. And so even though I really like this style more, the question is, is that okay? Are you all right with that? And I think it's all right. It just makes it look like it's a slightly different um, character because of the style. So if we go in there and look at that, yeah, you got a stroke of 0.2, and if we went in and made that 0.1, what does this do to the character? Sorry. Let's just try a few of them here. No stroke. Yeah, so that's not reading as good, is it? So I just think a little bit of that could be kind of played with to see what it does if you do it. Yeah, the thicker line weight's working better. So it makes me think maybe like some selective. I don't know. I'm probably actually nitpicking nothing there. These have just a little bit more of a realistic style, and he obviously doesn't. So that would be like that's. I'm just grasping at straws now because this actually is very tight. Um, but otherwise, no, I think that looks pretty good. Um, and I really like that when you print it, you're printing the bottom of it as transparent. So that's all I really have on that one. Bernard, Chad, I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. So I want to check this one out in Photoshop. Okay. Huh. Okay. Why is this working like that? Okay. So I think we already talked about sort of the style stuff, some of this yellow or some of these colors down here as possibly being grass instead of this color. I also think that the right kind of breaking up some of these shapes in here. So so like the fact that like what's going on with the bear's hand here. Could you put a little highlight in there? But otherwise, I think that this one's working pretty well, but I can't really do much with it when it's in raster. So I'm probably going to have to hold off on giving you a grade on this until you can get me a vector version of it. Let's see what the shirt. Yeah. So that would be my. I'm kind of curious how you do this. How you took the star field and get the color. So I'm guessing you did like a mask on this, and then did a transition, like a gradient on that. So overall, it's working pretty well. So hopefully, I'd say follow the things that we talked about in the critique to update those. Okay, Colby. This is kicking it. Okay. So I can't. Let's look at your. Okay. So you just divided it up in the logo and the shirt. I think a lot of the notes that people had here as well were good. I like the idea of sort of separating the kicking it from from the thing. Like even something like that. Does that help communicate it a little bit better. And I think it does, which I didn't apparently get all of it, so you'll get the idea. I also think when we saw it printed, this was getting really kind of jarbled of what's going on in each of these scenes. So I think really emphasize the shape and maybe tone down some of the imagery in there. Actually some neat imagery. I like it, but I think it's I don't know. It's getting a little distracting from actually being able to read it. So I think more of emphasizing the text would be kind of neat. But I also think just separating this so we can read it as a foot kicking a ball. Maybe like that's the biggest selling point. So having this stuff inside here maybe is a little more detail and a little too hard to read the it. So I just think making that a little bit more clear in the way it's sort of deformed in here. Maybe this really kind of does more like this, and some of this kind of comes into where it's a little bit more T-shaped. I don't know, but it needs to kind of play around with that a little bit just so it's a little bit more clear. So let me close a few of these. Check around on my okay. Hannah. Okay. Okay, again, I think that I think you know where you're heading with this and how to sort of improve it. I think the critique was actually pretty good. I think right now it's just feeling sketchy, and I think that tightening that up, making sure that like this is really emphasizing exactly what you want. It's not just two lines. And I mean, is that you go in here and really kind of chisel out exactly the shape you need for this nose. I don't know. I mean, it's got a lot more detail needs to be put into this before it's reading as sort of a final piece. Right now, it's reading as an early piece. Like this is your early concepts for it. But I do think that that's something that that I think you understand that. I think you need to just kind of go forward and really refine it. You get some really nice crisp text. You get some nice fog and clouds going on here. I like the sort of the sketchy charcoal rings in the fog here. It's the two characters mainly, and then making sure that this text, even though it's nice, make sure it reads. Because right now it's getting a little bit lost in there. So maybe it's dropping a shadow or something like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Go ahead and move on forward. Hunter Wallaby Wickets. Okay. Okay. I don't know what's happening there. Oh, this is looks like you've done a blend back here. I think we kind of talked a little bit about this one in class. I think you got some good feedback from that, which is I think the wallaby needs to be refined more. Based off concepts or what. Like this still feels like a kind of an early sketch of it. But I think the upper body hanging over the cereal, the head being bigger, and losing some of this empty space out here. I think the other thing would be making the text a little bit more, take up a little bit more room. Breakfast with a kit, good source of calcium and awesomeness. Free token for wallaby hugs inside. So very neat ideas in there. I think that it's kind of hard to clearly make out. Now what is this here? This is what I'm curious about. This piece here, is this just a chunk of a JPEG image? I think. Yeah, I think you've just imported a JPEG image. So we can do this image trace now on this if we actually had to, and you wanted to get, say, 6 colors on this. very exciting. And so you can start getting a little bit more of the actual vector pieces in there, and we could expand that out, and you can go in there now and sort of delete out the parts you want or whatever. So I mean, this is that's an option. Stop. If you wanted to do some of that stuff. But I think more than anything right now, it's kind of in the design. This character just feels like it needs a little bit more refinement. And the layout needs to be worked on. It's got a lot of empty space here, empty space at the top, and so just sort of the layout just needs to kind of be tightened up. Iris. Just going to ignore that. Okay, I'm going to assume that those two were actually just things that weren't necessary. So I know you've actually updated this since this, so and you asked me for feedback then. So I think take the feedback that you got here in critique. I think you've implemented that pretty well, especially with the foot. I think we were talking a little bit about maybe trying to pop out some of these shapes a little bit more shadow here with the hand overlapping. So you got a lot of nice stuff going on like here and here. But I mean, could you get a little bit more here to kind of overlap there? A little bit more here just to kind of break those two pieces apart. Overall, I think this is working really good. And I guess I'm not sure what this is. If it's like a scarf or something hanging off here, like that kind of. I feel like maybe that could be a little bit more broken out, because I feel like these are two pieces of hair, right? And this is, or a bow or something, and this is like something else hanging out in the back, and then this hair is here. So like some of this just gets a little jarbled to me and hard to figure out. But I think we've already kind of discussed that in class and when you talked with me directly. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video now, and we will wrap up on the second video.